We're from Chicago.
Chicano.
So, guys, we ended up seeing 2 movies this week.
Mm-hmm.
Well, some of us did.
2 amazing
matter.
movies. What's that, Chris?
All of us who matter saw 2 movies.
Yes. All of us amazing American people saw 2 movies today. And one of them even had American in the name.
You almost said American and then a hustle.
Yeah, I did.
Gonna give it away.
So, honestly, which one do you guys want to start off with? I'm thinking just Anchorman 2, just to get it out of the way, because this movie was poop.
Well, with that attitude, you're not really burying the lead on that.
No, yeah, let's start off with Anchorman 2. Chris, you want to give us a synopsis if you remember this movie?
Yeah, Anchorman 2, the legend continues. If you've seen the first Anchorman, you probably already know the characters, but those that don't, it stars Will Ferrell as Anchorman Ron Burgundy, who is this pompous, over-the-top, completely idiotic news anchor who still manages to bumble his way into actually managing to get news stories and a job and everything like that. And this movie continues where the first one left off. He and Veronica Cranston, his wife, are now news anchors on a major network. However, things happen, and Ron finds himself ending up at basically a new CNN-like startup company that's going to be the first 24/7 news channel. Yep. And it's Ron's new adventure in this line of work and how he's going to change the face of journalism as we know it.
After his stint at SeaWorld.
Yes.
Very drunken stint at SeaWorld. Now, honestly, for me, this movie was terribly forgettable. I literally was forgetting this movie as I walked out from just seeing the movie. It's the bane of this movie to me. But as you guys like I was telling Gavin pre-call, as he's going to talk about it, I'm going to remember it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if I had to remember this movie on my own, this show's over now for this episode.
It's one of those. I
can't remember it.
The best review I've seen of this so far equates it to basically a really, really long, stitched-together sequence of Saturday Night Live sketches. There is a very loose plot here, but it is literally joke to joke to joke to joke to joke. And they hit you over the head with them so fast.
To me, in this movie, like in the first one, even though Ron's an asshole, he's still likable. But in this one, he just came off like a fucking dick the whole movie.
I mean, I would disagree on that only because Ron Burgundy was a tremendous dick in the first movie, too. He wasn't likable in the first one.
But I just felt he was more unlikable in this one than he was in the last one.
No, I couldn't see that, honestly. He seems like just the same amount of an asshole in this one as he did in all the other ones.
Maybe it's just me.
He was still egotistical, self-driven, self-important.
Sexist, racist, classist, ageist. He's pretty much every kind of awful thing
you can be.
Yeah.
If there is an ist, he is it. But I mean, look, okay. If you like the first one, you like the jokes and the sort of level of comedy.
Love the first one.
If you like that sort of level of comedy, then yes, I think you will be able. You will. You're not going to come out of this feeling like you've wasted your money at the very least. The problem is, I think, with it is they do rapid fire the jokes at you so hard, so fast. I think they kind of got annoyed last time out that there's a film out there called Wake Up Ron Burgundy, which is basically a stitched together second film they made out of the outtakes of the first. Because they made so much extra stuff that had to end up on the cutting room floor. And with this one, it looked like they were just trying to squeeze so much in. It probably ran about 20 minutes longer than it needed to. But it's a case of the reason it's so forgettable is because you haven't stopped laughing at the first joke before they're hitting you with another one. Anything that runs long or just seems to be falling dead, don't worry, you're going to get hit by another punchline in about 5 seconds.
Yeah.
It's a bit full on. That there's very little story in this, and any real, the only time they try and have a serious moment, and they break it all up with what's that one bit without going into spoilers.
What's that one bit? You're asking us, and I don't know if we were going to
remember. You're asking that one bit with no actual context.
This movie hits the same beats as the last one, note for note. Okay, we have Ron's fall from grace. after he achieves massive success. And there's this one scene where Veronica's trying to talk him round and, admit that things between him and all that sort of shit, and try and build him back up, where he's trying to clean up a spilled coffee with an orange.
Oh, that part. I remember.
Little bits that, even when they're trying to be serious, they can't do it. They're trying to discuss their son's future, and he's running around with a basque on his head. I was like, okay.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, is that this movie, like the first one, is a lot of kind of random sort of almost surrealist sort of humor where very over-the-top things happen, but you don't really call question them because that's just the style of humor this movie is. A lot of it's very random and over-the-top. And that kind of worked because I think in the first movie, they were a lot more accepting of that fact. They didn't have to keep calling it into question whenever something like that happened. But in this movie, every time someone does something like that, they have to call it into question. Someone immediately has to be like, well, hold on, that doesn't make sense. Well, no, Brick, we can't all know that because we weren't there. It was your dream. How would we remember that? We're all here sharing stories about, things we did together. You're like, I get that that's the joke. I get that that's the premise. Them explaining it is what kind of takes me out of this. It's a lot.
I mean, we're going to go into it in the spoilers, so for the next 10 seconds, if you don't want to hear the spoilers, the bit with it when he goes blind and there's
spoilers.
There's the running joke about how he keeps mistaking, trying to do things.
In that scene. Yeah,
and there's everyone's going, wait, that wouldn't work.
Yeah, like you should be able to, it constantly explain it over and over. It happens all throughout the movie and various points, and that's probably what hurt me or hurt my opinion of this movie so much, is that when they keep doing it, it just took away from the joke. Even if the joke itself wasn't funny, like the way it was explained just didn't connect with me. It wasn't my style of humor. Like I like the surrealist when you don't. I find it funnier when they don't have to call question into it. Like they don't explain it.
I think I understand what Randy meant about Ron, though. They have kind of like magnified the personalities.
They magnified a lot of the personalities.
Of every single one to the nth degree. Because Champ, we've all agreed he's like one of our least favorite characters. He just basically becomes the over needy man child that has to have attention. Brian Fantana becomes the dominant.
Was Brian Fantana in this movie?
Yeah, I didn't feel like Brian Fantana was even in this movie.
They didn't, because here's the thing. Obviously, when the first Anchorman came out, these guys were all newcomers. And since this movie has come out, Steve Carell's obviously been the one to take off. So if you'll notice, Steve Carell gets his own storyline. And if you actually looked in the credits, he actually had his own assistant and everything like that. You don't see that for the other guys. And they really kind of swapped that. They kind of took away from Fantana and Champ and gave that storyline all that screen time to...
Fantana needed his own story or something.
Something
Fantana was a fun character in the first.
He was actually a very good character in this one. I didn't like him so much in the first, but in this one he's a really, really good character. He's the only one that stands up to Ron.
It's just he doesn't have like... I know what you mean by character, but I guess what I mean by character is he had like a joke to him. Like he was funny because he was that over-the-top, sexualized... that Sex Panther.
The only nod we got to that was another scene about Sex Panther, basically.
There was a Sex Panther in the condom.
And there was his magic cupboard.
That's what I was talking about, the condom, the nod to the Sex Panther.
There's an actual reference to Sex Panther as well.
But Brick, they did magnify his role, but for me, they regressed. Like I said, they magnified the character too far. I mean,
they magnified the role, but devolved the character.
Yeah, I mean, I was just talking to Randy in the pre-call. I loved Brick in that he was functionable, but special. The very first time you meet him, he's talking to the camera. He's explaining who he is while spooning mayonnaise into a toaster. He's functionable at least, even if he is a little bit odd. In this one, 90% of his lines are just like,
yeah, he's a giggling idiot.
Yeah, he has. There's nothing there. He has maybe one good line in it, one good actual set-up joke, a decent little side plot where he meets his female match apparently.
Played by Kristen Wiig.
And how she passed puberty, never mind got a job. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't understand how she got a job there. She was afraid to answer the phone. That interview process.
And then towards the end, he the thing about Brick is he's a fantastic, subtle character, but they just had to beat you over the head with him.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll go further into the spoilers, but yeah, I mean,
yeah, we're gonna group spoilers together with spoilers with the other movie, and so we're gonna do the.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's the best way to go instead of people having to pause and then unpause or not listen and then listen. You know, I think it's a lot easier just to do it that way. But this movie just it doesn't have the lines in it that look, Ron, I'm riding a furry tractor. I don't have those lines in this movie. You know, you ate the whole wheel of cheese. You know, I don't have those lines in this movie.
There's a couple in there. There definitely are lines. It's just not to the frequency you'd want from this. Like, the thing is that I worried about this movie because generally when you get these kinds of sequels, they're not as good as the original. And you know, the kind of like memorable kind of attitude of that right now is with the Hangover movies, which fall after the first one. They've all been pretty lackluster. And I wouldn't say this is bad as the sequels to Hangover, but it definitely is like. It just doesn't work the same way. Like, it worked so much better the first time, and coming back to this old ground, it definitely feels a lot more like a Will Ferrell movie. Like how we get those nowadays.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing I was worried about. I wanted this to be an Anchorman sequel, not another Will Ferrell movie. Because I mean, Step Brothers, Talladega Nights, all these kind of things where Will Ferrell plays the giant man-child. I hate those movies. But in the character of Ron Burgundy, the character itself is fantastic. He's an adult who just has a weird skew on reality.
He's not a shithead.
He's an asshole. But he's not a man-child.
Sometimes he is.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a point where he gets kicked and literally starts crying on the ground for mommy.
Yeah, I remember that.
Baby.
There's a lot more physical kind of like loud humor, I guess that would be the way to put it. Like just noise humor in this movie that I didn't care for at all. I've never really been a big fan of that. So
there's not that many lines to take away from it.
I just think it's less witty than the first one. There's when they get witty, I think it's hilarious. But when like overall, I just didn't find it memorable and like sharp writing in there. Like there's one point where they're doing commercials and Brick is doing one for butter and there's just a stick of butter and you see us slowly get close to it and take a huge bite and then in the background you hear him yell butter. Like there's something like that you're still able to be like that's just funny because it's so silly. But like the witty lines of like, oh, milk was a bad choice. Like I was waiting for more of those sort of things. It's like, damn, that's some good fucking writing right there. There's a cameo plethora in this movie as well.
Oh yeah,
much of the last movie.
I will say I enjoyed the fight scene in this one. Maybe not better.
No, I didn't like the fight scene.
I'm just impressed.
No, the only part of the fight scene. Well, I can't get into that. Well, is there's a part with Kanye West that I like.
Kanye.
I hate Kanye West and why I like it. You'll find out later in spoilers. But no, the only thing I'm taking away from this movie is that Megan Good, the person who plays Linda Jackson, has a fantastic ass.
Oh yes.
My God, does she have a fantastic
I also do
ass.
like when they're having sex and it just keeps cutting to like scenes of black and white cultural history. Like it's going to a home run or cuts to like fucking Webster.
Yeah, I will mention this. If you are going to see this film and you have a problem with the racial humor, yeah.
Well, we got the call back to the not being able to control the volume of his voice when he's nervous.
Yeah. There's quite a few callbacks.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
You know, we'll go into more in the spoilers bit because there's bits like that. But
yep. So overall final grades.
I give it a C. It's not a bad movie. It's just it was disappointing. It was what I worried it was going to be, which is just an average movie that doesn't have the same charm that the first one did.
I mean, for some reason, Chris, you compared it to the Hangover series. For some reason, when I watch those films, I'm thinking this is the same damn movie. Mm-hmm. With this, I don't get that for some reason. It is its own film.
Because though, like, if you even look at it, it has almost identically the same plot.
It is the same plot.
I mean, it has the same thing where he has a rivalry with a rival news anchor who, does an underhanded tactic to ruin Ron's career, and it bounces between him and his crumbling relationship. He abandons his friends.
Yeah, it's the same fucking movie, Gav.
At the end, it's.
But to me, it just seems like you can tell it's a different film. I don't know if it's the tone or the sets, the way they set it out, or whatever, but.
Maybe it's like 10 years ago this movie was out again.
Yeah, they've taken it out of the small time into the big city, so maybe it just feels like a different film. I don't know. But for me, I'm going to give it a B, just because I went in. I was expecting it to be, trying to be the first one and failing. But I went in, the audience, myself, everyone around us was laughing. I went out with a smile on my face. Yeah, I've forgotten it now, but I enjoyed myself there. So
that's fine,
Yep.
You're perfectly. I mean, that's a good part. That's part of the reason people go to movies is just to fucking sit there and laugh.
But don't stay for the after credits bit. It's not worth it.
Don't even tell people there's an after credits bit.
I didn't know there was, so I didn't stay.
It should have been in the film. It would have been a funny joke in the film.
I'm going to spoil this because it's not even fucking a spoiler. It's just Brick eats a cookie and stares at the camera.
Yeah, there's one scene in the film where they're basically spitballing ideas around a table, and they get up and leave, and it cuts there. In the trailer, it continues where Brick drops a cookie, gets on the table, eats it, looks at the camera, and waves at the audience. So basically, Brick is aware of the audience. If they'd left that in the film, that'd have been great.
I was waiting for a little bit to see if there were going to be outtakes, and that was it. I'm like, well, I guess there's no outtakes at the end of this movie.
They're saving that for the DVD.
It was so weird because it's a movie that primarily seems like it's just covered in improv.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So I'm sure there are shit tons of fucking... it would be so great because the end cameos, there's so many of them, and there's so many ones you want to see more of these characters, but, obviously I don't have time to spend, 30 minutes with these characters.
We only see, 2 seconds of Liam Neeson.
Yeah. Well, actually, Liam Neeson is not in this movie. It's Michael Neeson, actually.
Yeah.
For some reason. I don't know why. He is credited in the credits as Michael Neeson. Yeah, I don't get it.
Oh, I'm pretty sure Harrison Ford was only on it for, he was only on set for 3 hours, was handed the script on the day, and only bothered to read his own lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'd been fun to see those characters gain the chance to talk and everything like that with the outtakes to hear their alternate lines and things like that.
And you've got who was it? Kirsten Dunst was in this film for all of 2 seconds with 3 lines.
Who was she?
She was the I've forgotten the name they called her, but she was the Grecan style, the announcer for the fight.
Oh, that was fucking Kirsten Dunst?
Yeah.
I didn't notice that. I'm looking at IMDb right now because I wanted to find out the name of the person who played Linda Jackson. And I was scrolling down, I saw Kirsten Dunst. I'm like, who the fuck were you?
Yeah, she was the announcer for the fight.
Oh.
The whole I can't remember the name they gave it. It was something ridiculous.
Epiphany or some
Yeah.
Greek name. But when it comes to this movie, it was kind of just bleh. But I'm going to agree with Chris on this one, and I'm going with a C also. And right now, this thing, with a $40 million or $50 million budget, it's going to make its money back, obviously, because it's already at $40 million. But it's just getting its ass beat by The Hobbit.
Yeah, well, it's $40 million in the US.
Yeah.
So worldwide, it's going to be easily made its money back by now.
Yeah.
But yeah, The Hobbit, it's The Hobbit.
The Hobbit's just fucking beating its ass. But let's go on to the superior film of these two films. The American Hustle. American Hustle. This was a fantastic fucking movie. Chris, synopsis.
Okay, so American Hustle is a movie, David O. Russell's newest film. It is about a con man played by Christian Bale called Irving Rosenfield, who teams up with Amy Adams, and they basically run loan scams that basically amounts to a quick whip out of money. They get caught up by Bradley Cooper, who plays FBI agent Richard Damasio, and in exchange for not being put in jail, they have to help con bigger targets that'll land the FBI new targets, which continues to wrap further and further up until it gets to Mayor Carmine Polito, played by Jeremy Renner, and even beyond that. and it's about them kind of getting further and further into this, and these different characters. We're all pretty kind of tragic, broken people in their own different ways. It's funny. It's got a thriller element to it. It's very over the top, but it's a very good movie, as you said.
It's written extremely well. Every person puts in an amazing performance. This movie. Amy Adams is fucking like not just stunning, but she makes she puts everything into this movie. Same with Christian Bale, Bradley Cooper. You hate Bradley Cooper's character by the end of this.
You hate him. Like,
you don't hate the actor, but you hate the fucking character he's playing.
Such a shithead. Like, everyone probably knows one of these guys too. The guys who's just like, I'm totally right, and I'm going to keep pushing at this.
And
just like, I fucking hate this. But no, this movie has one of the biggest, and it's very understated how big of an all-star cast it has. Christian Bale, Bradley Cooper, Amy Adams, Jeremy Renner, and Jennifer Lawrence, like the big five they mentioned. Yep. But Louis C.K. has a huge role in this movie. Jack Huston, who plays Richard Harrow in Boardwalk Empire, is in this. Shea Whigham, who plays Eli Thompson in Boardwalk Empire, is in this. Robert De Niro has a cameo in this movie. Just a huge cast of characters, and every single person is played extremely well. Louis C.K. is like my favorite character in this whole movie because he's so perfectly cast into the role he's put in this movie. As
you feel bad for him until the end, you know?
Put upon FBI agent who's constantly getting shit on and beat up, and so many great things. It really is just fantastically acted. There's not a weak point in the movie for me in terms of acting.
Yeah, and oh my god, the ice fishing story.
Yeah,
we'll get into that in spoilers, but my fucking god, the ice fishing story.
It is a legitimately funny movie, which is great.
It's a smart movie. It's a thoughtful movie. It's smart. It's not dumb comedy.
No.
When you laugh at something, it's because it's legitimately funny. It's not because it's being forced or anything like that. It's actually something that's written well. This movie's amazing. I mean, I can't rave about it the most, much more than I already am. I love this movie. Love it.
Yeah, I mean, I really did enjoy it. Script's very good, very funny. It does, for me, it suffers from that thing of being very cleverly written where you're like, this isn't how people actually talk. In certain situations, just like with the super, back and forth witty banter, but that doesn't detract from the film necessarily. It's just one of those things that I picked up on. But outside of that, I mean, it's slow in the beginning or in the middle. It kind of feels like a longer movie than it actually is. It's about 2 hours, 10 minutes, but it felt like it was closer to like 3.5 or 2.5 hours for me. But even then, I still really enjoyed it. It has a reason for being that long, and there's just a lot of great jokes in it. The science oven, I fucking
this
love
fucking science oven.
Because it's set in like the 60s, so someone gets a gift of a microwave and he's trying to explain it to him. He's like, there's science in it. He uses science to cook it. It's like a fucking science oven. They just keep referring to it as science oven throughout the rest of the movie.
Just don't put metal in it. The whole fucking bit of the science oven was better than any joke from Anchorman 2 to me.
It is
because
honestly,
I'm always going to remember the science oven. I was calling my microwave the science oven today. I love it.
It's a very strong movie. A little bit slow, but I mean,
but the slow points have a reason to them. They're slow because they're setting things up for later, and it makes sense to why they're slow. I mean, you really can't speed that kind of stuff up because of what's happening, what it's building up to.
The end is what honestly makes this movie for me, because like when you're building towards the end, you're kind of like, oh man, where is this movie going to go? I don't, how is this actually going to have a conclusion? When you get to that point and things start kind of lining up for it, it gets really excellent, and that's probably my favorite part of the whole thing. Is that once you get to the end, you're just like, that was satisfying. That was a really good ending.
The third act is fucking insane.
Yeah, everything adds up, and you're like, well, that was great. That was worth the journey and everything like that. And that's that's what makes it all worth it.
Yeah, I can't. It's really hard to fucking talk about this movie without wanting to go into spoilers. I'm gonna keep saying it. Cast is amazing. If you watch this movie for anything, watch it for the acts these guys put on. It's insane. I mean, I don't know who. I never knew who Amy Adams was before this movie.
She was She was Lois Lane.
I didn't know that was Amy Adams. I just thought it was just some fucking actress playing Lois Lane. I don't know who Amy Adams was until you know, after the thing, or after the credits roll, and I see Amy Adams is playing, you know, what's her nuts, whatever name she goes by, because she goes by two of them in this.
She
movie.
goes. Edith is basically what
Edith,
most people
that's
call her as. Her name's
Yeah.
Sydney, though.
But yeah, I love this movie. Yeah, I'm gonna start this off. Go right into the scores because I want to get into spoilers for this shit. This movie is fuck. Do I actually want to give it an A+ to me? Yeah, I'm gonna give it an A+.
Fair enough. I like this movie. I wasn't crazy about it, but I did enjoy it. I give it a solid B+.
And Gavin gives it a I don't know because he hasn't seen this movie.
I haven't seen it yet. We don't get it till January.
You have to see this movie, man.
It does sound like my kind of film. I mean,
It's witty humor.
We've got a show over. I don't know if you actually got it televised over there or got a American version. Which, considering the name, it's just called Hustle. You know, it's basically this. It's a group of con artists that work for them in the TV show. They work for themselves, but they have like a code of honor. They only rob from the.
No, these guys have no code.
Yeah, they rob from they only scam the wealthy and the dickish, you know, the greedy. But basically, it's the same sort of thing. You know, it's con men conning con men sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Very good series. So yeah, if that's what this is about, then yeah, I think I'll give this a go.
So after this point, we are going to head right into fucking spoilers. If you don't want to get spoiled for any of these movies, you're gonna have to pause it or turn it off and come back later. But right now, we are going right into spoilers. Let's start off with Anchorman 2 again, and let's spoil the shit out of Anchorman 2.
Yay!
Ron Burgundy dies.
He doesn't. He does not die.
Ron Burgundy goes blind.
Yes.
Okay, that's the thing I need to hit on, because that to me is like the dead point in the movie. When Ron
Exactly.
Burgundy goes blind, it just doesn't, like, the flow of it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like natural in the movie. Like, this is where his tragic fall has to come in.
Yeah.
And it's just so long. And the jokes about him being blind stop being funny almost immediately, because he just used the same joke over and over again. Like, he uses "I'm blind" as an excuse for everything.
Yeah. It's like I had to stumble around my house brushing my teeth with a live lobster. It's like, Ron,
Wouldn't you feel it was a lobster and stuff?
I'm blind.
And you're like, I get it. But after like the 7th time they do that joke, I'm like, I am very tired of this now.
Please move on, please.
Yeah, for the love of God.
Story-wise, I know why they did it. Obviously, they got to the same point in the last one. Ron got too big for his boots. He cast aside the news team, this, that, and other, and then he had his big fall, and you know,
it just doesn't make sense for why he had to have the big fall, or not the big fall, but like why his friends and like everything, why he had to break up with them. Like it
felt forced.
Natural.
Everything felt forced.
Like it's just like, well, we did this because it happened in the last movie.
Yeah, he was. What was it? Basically, he was coming up with ideas and shitting on all their stuff, and they were holding him back, or so he was saying. And he basically created Fox News.
Yeah, well, it was like, it wasn't just that, because they were all on board with him creating Fox News. They all were.
Yeah.
Like, that was the point. That's why he was such a huge asshole in the beginning.
Yeah.
What kind of like comes out of nowhere is that he betrays them because he's dating Linda at the time. And Linda's like, I need to protect my job because there's an Australian guy who's threatening me. So
Koala Airlines.
I'll put it on Ron, and then Ron puts it on them, and it's just like, it's so weird because like the whole relationship with him and Linda just kind of doesn't feel like it has a real conclusion to it.
No,
like,
they just kind of go, yeah, fuck it.
Throughout the movie, you're kind of like, you're supposed to almost set like, oh, well, this is going to be Ron's new relationship now, but like that's not really how it sort of ends up. It's
basically the conclusion to that relationship is they have a really, really awkward family dinner with her family. Mm-hmm. On the cab ride home, she's like, yeah, my boss has told me to tell your guys to drop the story they're doing because it'll bring his company into disrepute. Okay. Then at that point, he goes blind, and she doesn't even call. She disappears. She doesn't call. She doesn't ask about him. She's gone. Yeah. He comes back from being blind, and then there's like an almost cat fight between her and Corningstone, which I'm actually amazed they didn't do.
Yeah.
I was actually disappointed in that. Not that there'd be a cat fight, but because there's no
Like, was she supposed to be the villain in this movie? Like, is she supposed to be a bad influence in Ron's
because
life?
right after that bit, he gives her, props and compliment and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, like that was what just came off as so weird. Like, if we're supposed to come in this notion that her being with Ron has changed him into being a worse person to his friends, but then at the same time, that's not what you're supposed to get. You're like,
I think it was
his friends then.
I think it was more that she was an unnecessary middleman in the him versus the boss kind of thing.
Yeah, it just felt like they wrote out her conclusion.
He isn't even very well stated as a villain either. Like, you kind of meet him like 3 times.
It's just like about 60% of the way through the movie, all of a sudden he's like, "Yeah, I don't like that story they're running because it's going to bring my company to distribute. Yeah, you're going to stop that right now." That's as much of a villain he gets.
Yeah, and this movie's also at the same time, it's trying to be a little bit more actually like cultural or topical, where it's trying to comment on journalism as a whole. Yeah. With this fluff story pieces and everything like that, which is weird.
The guy who owns the news makes the news sort of thing.
Yeah, it was kind of weird because I was like, did the first Anchorman really do anything like that? Didn't really have much of a joke on, like, its setting was a newsroom, but it never really seemed to make any commentary on being a newsroom.
No, it didn't.
The only news story it ever showed in the first one was the
panda
squirrel and the panda. Yeah.
Yeah, this movie just falls apart for me.
It's like I say, it's literally, it don't go in there looking for a story. It's just a rapid fire, blows to the head with different punchlines. That's pretty much it. I mean, there's a night that I like the bit in the Winnebago with the slowed down 3D stuff, or the faux 3D.
It's not bad. I mean, it's something you kind of see coming.
Oh yeah, well they set it up like, I love having this RV with a deep fryer in it.
No, I mean, it's in the trailer. I love that line though. Of like, I can't believe we got the deep fryer installed. Hey, why do you have bowling balls in here? Like, well, that is a wacky story. Because that's like the absurdist humor you want. Like, don't need to explain it. It's so silly and set up for the joke, but that's what makes it humorous.
What's with the terrarium full of scorpions?
Yeah.
They're doing the thing where basically they're in the Winnebago and they're all sat in the back. The audience has cottoned on 10 minutes ago that nobody's actually driving the damn thing.
Oh yeah, that's the first thing I look at it. I see all 4 of them are there. I'm like, okay, so nobody's driving, which means he put it on cruise control because he thinks it's autopilot.
Yeah.
Which it's not. We're going to have a crash scene. They're setting up all the things that are going to happen in the crash scene.
Yeah.
Done. And as it happened, I'm like, well, that's not funny because I already know what's going to happen.
How they do it, though, is pretty well, not clever, but, it's pretty funny. I actually like the bits with Brick. Where, like, you've got Champ getting hit in the balls with a bowling ball. He's only got the face burned, isn't it?
Brick gets hit in the nuts.
Yeah, everyone else is getting absolutely pummeled, and he's just floating around with a smile on his face eating ice cream.
I think I liked the actual joke of it. I thought that was funny. I just didn't care for, like, at the end, he's like, well, that's going to be a story. I was like, it could have just been better if it had been sad. But that's me with my personal taste. I don't want to act like that's a flaw of the movie just because that's not how I would have.
If they just would have been, like, groaning or something like that, it was just silence after the crash, and they were just groaning.
They may have dumbed it down a little bit too much. There is a lot of explaining to the audience kind of thing going on with this one.
When it comes to a dumb comedy, you don't need to explain things to the audience. It just makes your audience feel dumber than the comedy they're watching.
The smartest jokes are the ones that just out there, boom, done. I can't even see. This is the thing. I can't even remember the setup line for this bit. But they're having a conversation about something, and Brick just comes out with, "I ain't afraid of no ghost." It's like random Ghostbusters line. But for the life of me, I can't remember the setup to that joke.
Neither can I.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. He says you guys are going to be working the graveyard shift. He's like, I ain't afraid of no ghost.
Yeah, that's it.
What did you guys think of Jim Carrey in the end?
Okay, that's the thing. There's like 6 cameos at the end. It's because like the first movie, there's a giant newsman fight. Yeah. And the last one, that was where they got like Ben Stiller and all these different people in there. Vince Vaughn appeared again. In this one, the cameos are a lot more like, it's not just comedians. Like, basically, you get Amy Adams and Tina Fey, and outside of that, they're like, let's just get famous people. So it's like Kanye West is in there.
Kanye West is
Liam Neeson.
MTV, and they're all like, "What the fuck's MTV?"
Will Smith. Like, it's just supposed to be like, holy fuck.
What
look
was
at all
Will
these-
Smith's news?
Will Smith was ESPN.
ESPN.
ESPN, okay.
I
remember him calling in the airstrike.
Channel. Yeah. What was the other one? Sacha Baron Cohen is the BBC World Service.
And
Oh, was that Sacha Baron? I was wondering who that was.
yeah,
I
that was
like,
Sacha Baron Cohen.
Must be some British actor, I don't know. And I guess technically that is true.
Yeah, they squeezed John C. Reilly in as the ghost of Stonewall Jackson
Yep.
and the Minotaur.
The Minotaur was just stupid. That was what I liked. The Minotaur was just like...
What about Harrison Ford turning into a
Harrison
werewolf?
Ford is the hyena.
Where hyena?
Does it show, oh, no, like, does it show up again?
No,
Like, he turns into the were-hyena and you never see it again.
No.
if you watch Harrison Ford when he actually enters that scene, I'm pretty sure he was on a green screen,
Oh, I'm sure.
and they added him to the film. Oh, that fight, man!
I don't know if Chris was laughing at the I'm sorry jokes that were going on with the Canadian shit, because I know he does the same thing to our Canadian friend.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
I'm gonna gouge your eyes out with a hockey puck. I'm sorry.
What was it? I mean, I know Jim Carrey is Canadian, but why was he talking in a Scottish accent?
Yeah, he was. That's the same thing I was thinking too. Like, why is this guy Irish?
There's some great little lines. Fucking Kanye's. He only had about 3 lines. in
He's the only one who
in the
dies.
film. Good.
You
I
on
think
screen.
I think Jim Carrey dies too.
No, he's the one that removes somebody. Oh no, he's the one that gets hit by Sex Panther.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
At this point, Brian's basically joined the rest of the world that Sex Panther smells like ass, and now uses it as a hand grenade. Brick,
But yeah,
Brick shows up to the fight with the trident. There's a little joke back to the last one, but he doesn't use it. This one he gets a ghost of the future, a gun from the future.
Yep. And he uses it to blow up Kanye West on a building.
Yes, he does. But you see, this is what I meant though. You know, in the first one, there's the Brick. Where'd you get a hand grenade? I don't know. Great joke.
Yeah.
In this one, Brick. Where'd you get a gun from the future?
And that's it. Yeah.
That's it. Oh God.
Yeah, they kind of ruined that bit.
Yeah. You see, this is Brick had so much more potential.
But
Instead of giving lines.
I like Liam Neeson's cameo though. I liked his lines that he had.
Yeah.
Does he even have lines?
Yeah, he has 2 lines.
Liam Neeson shows up. I was like, okay. Doesn't really say much.
That's not
He
even
shoots
news. That's
I did
mythological.
like that. With news in the future, or with the news much longer after it.
Yeah. But no, it's just like he's like, I want a piece of this action or something like that, or history wants a piece of this action or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's got like 2 lines that I liked.
But it is literally like they walked around the studio a lot and just went, you know what? Who wants to do dumb shit? Anybody?
Yeah.
Come on. And as I say, I've already mentioned we've got Kirsten Dunst in there as well. In literally, the camera's down on the ground. She's up on a building doing these lines, and it's just like the zoom is about halfway. You can't tell it's her apart from the voice. She's just dressed up as like a Grecian statue in the white flowing robes and the helmet, and like Athena or some shit like that. It's just people just thrown in for the sheer sake of it. Mm-hmm. You know, one thing we haven't mentioned at all.
Probably another scene we forgot about because this movie was boring. What?
Dobie.
Oh, the fucking shark! I hated that stuff.
Yeah, halfway through this, you've got this image of Ron Burgundy bottle feeding a shark, which the image alone is fantastic.
I just got mad that they Baxter from the first movie. He's got some talking scenes where he's talking to Ron.
Yeah.
Which were fucking fantastic. And they hold it to the very end to have that talking Baxter scene.
They don't do a lot with Baxter.
And it's nowhere near as funny as the first one.
You know the problem is, and I don't want to be depressive here, because of the length of time between these films, there's a very good chance the original Baxter is dead.
Well, you can just, I assume there wasn't, it's probably not even one Baxter in the first movie. There's probably several Baxters.
Yeah, that's how the dogs always worked, is that they always bring in like 6 dogs that look exactly the same.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think there's just, I don't know. They really held off with Baxter, with anything to do with the dogs in this one.
But yeah, that fell really short for me. I'm glad Jazz Flute was short.
Yeah, jazz
I am
flute.
very glad Jazz Flute was short. But let's move on to American Hustle. But okay, let's see. American Hustle. What can I spoil about American Hustle? Robert De Niro plays a good mob boss, even though he's only in for one scene and about says 2 lines.
It has an interesting way of kind of showing these characters. As I mentioned in the recap, they're all kind of tragic, kind of broken people in their own ways. Christian Bale's character is a con man because he constantly, as a kid, he used to basically drum up business for his dad's glass business by breaking glasses. He's used his way to constantly take advantage of other people to help himself because that's all he's ever known. Whereas Sydney clearly comes from a broken home of some kind, spent a lot of her time stripping, and has kind of been making it on her own, but she's desperately seeking a connection with somebody, and she seems to have the worst luck in finding guys who actually she's their first choice. She almost always seems to find guys who she's, second fiddle from. And
yeah, she finds a lot of shitheads.
Yeah, she constantly is getting beleaguered, whatever that word is, fucked up with. Bradley Cooper's character he's also kind of that same kind of broken person trying to find somebody, but he's not a good person the same way you can tell Amy Adams and Christian Bale's characters are. You see he's someone who kind of just takes advantage for himself and doesn't really have a great heart to him. Louis C.K. just plays the FBI boss of Bradley Cooper's character, and he's just there to be amusing.
He's in there for 4 scenes, I think. 4 or 5 scenes, but each scene that he's in there for are amazing.
They're all just so solid.
Do you want to explain the?
Honestly, I wouldn't. If you see the movie, there's a nice fishing joke in there, but I'm not gonna explain it to you because it's one of the best parts of the movie, so you should experience it.
Yeah,
it's just a good running joke that's in there.
It's gonna take for a while for that payoff, but oh my god, is it worth it? But I Chris, for once, I'm actually agreeing with you. It's really hard to spoil a good movie every once in a while.
Because if we like it so much, we want other people to like it. Mm-hmm. And it takes away from the film if you know everything that's going to happen or all the jokes. So, I mean, there's definitely movies out there you just want to let them experience on their own.
Is there anything we can spoil? No.
Not really.
You see Amy Adams' tits for
a hot second. Do not unless you're going into the theater with one of those time-stopping watches from that one movie where you're like, stop time, poof, and you just catch the right fucking frame to see it. You're not really gonna get to see a whole lot. But if you just want to see her cleavage, don't worry, because that's in every goddamn scene.
Yeah.
The point where you're like, I don't even understand story-wise why her tits are hanging out. There's some points where you're like, oh, she's using her sex appeal to get what she wants. And other times you're like, you're going grocery shopping, bitch. Why are your titties all flopping out?
Maybe she's going for best supported actress.
She actually does deserve it in this movie. She's very good in this movie. Jennifer Lawrence is very good as well. Jennifer Lawrence really kind of hit the mark this year.
She is crazy in this movie.
Very good in this movie. Again, there's not a single person who's bad in this movie. I wasn't a huge Jeremy Renner fan before this either, but Carmine Polito is such a great character.
Yeah, you feel bad for him at the end of this movie.
Yeah, you're like, this is a guy. You're like, this guy's gonna get fucked, and he doesn't deserve it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, some of the politicians they go after, you're like, these people deserve it. But some of these guys, you're just like, I can't believe. At the going to this movie, I'm thinking like nobody's gonna get a happy ending in this. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking everything's gonna hit the fan and everybody's gonna get fucked.
Yeah.
But I mean, there is somewhat of a happy ending to this movie. But yeah, you'll have to see it to get it. But yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised with the ending. There's a little bit of it that I have a little problem with. They come up with a plan to get the boss or to get off the hook basically, and it just felt really short. I thought it'd be more elaborate. It's just one thing, but other than that, I mean, oh well. I like the movie.
Yeah, I'll give it a chance.
Yeah, do it. It's a good movie. And so for next week, we are doing 47 Ronin and Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
I can see both of those.
Yay, give.
That was my Brick impression, because that's pretty much all I did.
Now you need to be like, whoa!
Well, I would, but it's almost midnight and the
And then laugh.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we got that next week. Should be a fun review. We got a shitty movie and a pretentious movie, so...
Yay! Which is which?
The shitty movie is 47 Ronin. The pretentious
Okay.
is fucking 47 Ronin.
You mean...
See, now, on this one you've had those two gushing over that movie.
I flipped that around.
There's me trying to be positive about Anchorman. Next week, it's going to be all shit.
For me, at least. I know that.
You're going to see me glowing about fucking Walter Mitty.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then you guys are going to be shitting all over it. I'm gonna be like, but it's about love.
It's about
See,
feelings.
I'll be fine with 47 Ronin as long as it's, a decent action film.
It's
you
not.
You can tell it's going to be some bullshit story, but, whatever. We'll see.
Yeah, I have no hopes for these two movies, but we'll
At least the
see.
effects look nice.
No, they
I
don't.
cannot
They look
wait
terrible.
for fucking Walter Mitty.
Chris is getting me a bit angry there.
I
Yeah,
know,
but
I'm pumped for it. It's gonna be a good movie. I can already tell. I can feel it.
Do you think it's going to be a good movie to watch or a good movie to review? Because everybody's going to be yelling at each other.
Well, no, because you guys are gonna be stone cold silent because you're like, wow, that was an amazing movie. I'm so sorry, Chris. So
Okay,
sorry.
we'll-
Just
We'll see how that goes next week, guys.
You know when the last time I've been going to the cinemas and looked forward to seeing a Ben Stiller movie was?
Zoolander.
Don't say not at the museum.
There is no answer to that. I have never gone to the cinemas looking forward to a Ben Stiller movie.
Oh, by the way, I got a trailer for what I am pretty certain is going to be the worst movie of next year.
Oh,
Her?
yes.
I got.
Any chance be an Adam Sandler film?
Oh, it just might be.
Hmm.
It's one called Blended, which, hold on, stop me if you've heard this one before. Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore are going to be a couple.
Oh.
And
Is there any chance that it's set in a tropical / distant location?
well, that's the interest. Here's the wacky thing about it, is that they hate each other off of their first date. It was a total disaster.
Oh, of course.
But, as things would happen, both of them went a trip to Africa together.
Would you know it?
So they get to find each other again with Africa as the catalyst to everything. It's gonna be great.
This is why I hate Adam Sandler movies, because they're basically an excuse for him and his friends to go on vacation.
Yes.
I fucking hate Adam
This
Sandler.
is
The
Adam
first-
Sandler goes on safari paid by your cinema-going
Yeah.
public.
It is already, you could tell, like, this is not going to be a very sensitive movie, because the first scene you get of them in Africa in the trailer is fucking Terry Crews busting into the scene in, like, fucking tribal attire, dancing like a goddamn fool.
You see, that's the thing.
If
I was all ready to hate this movie, and then Terry Crews is in it.
Yeah, I mean,
I
that's
enjoy that dude.
I like Terry Crews too, but the dude makes fucking terrible decisions. So.
Dude, I watched White Chicks because Terry Crews was in that film.
I watched White Chicks because it's a damn good movie.
what? This is something. No, wait. We're discussing this later. Everybody, we'll see you next week.
I need to go beat Chris.
Yeah, we need to go kick Chris's ass.
Don't hate.
Good night, everybody.
Right.